Alpha Fam, Coach Jam here with another market update. Before we begin, I do want to say that nothing in these videos is financial advice. Everything's for educational purposes only. It's just my own analysis on the market. Also, if you're new to the channel, if you could please give us a like, comment, and a subscribe, we really do appreciate the support. Let's get into the market, guys. So, I intentionally waited this week to make this video for a few reasons. One was I wanted to see what happened with the FOMC. I wanted to see if there was any type of new developments with Iran. And what's been happening is I'll make a video, and because the macro has changed and is changing so fast, I'll make a video, and then 30 minutes later, an hour later, it can radically change from what the context was. So I wanted to be patient and wait and see kind of how things unfolded. We are getting a nice push on Bitcoin. Now we are still waiting for the US market to open today, so I want to see how that open happens. And we also have some important data coming out today, which is ISM manufacturing PMI that comes out at 10 a.m. They're actually anticipating this to go up, which is actually bullish. All right. With that being said, there was a couple really concerning things that happened this week that we need to watch out for. One was this FOMC. So we knew we weren't going to get rate cuts, guys. I think everybody knew that rate cuts were not on the table. That's not what nobody was focused on. What we were wanting to see was what Jerome Powell talked about and some of the context of the things that he was going to discuss during that, his last, it was essentially supposed to be his last FOMC meeting. The one thing that was very concerning that he said was, instead of retiring and leaving the Fed, he is going to stay around as a chairman on the board, as basically like a step below the main chairman, which is going to be now Kevin Warsh, who actually got advanced through the Senate to become the next Fed guy. So with that being said, the reason why this is so concerning, guys, and you can actually see on the 4-hour where the market dumped as soon as he started talking about that morning, you can see it right here, is because I think everybody understands that if he doesn't leave, there is a very high probability that he's going to try to block and veto every single one of the rate cuts that Kevin Warsh tries to push through. All right. And I think people are going to start to notice that not only is that kind of concerning, but this could really mess things up. But with that being said, we're starting to get a push today, which is a little interesting. So what I think I've noticed, this is from a technical perspective, this has been looking really good. This uptrend's been looking really good this entire time. You can see basically since we started this uptrend, we've been using the 50-day as support. We've bounced off of it all of these times. You got it right here. We've got it right here. We got it right here. The other day, we lost it. We actually rejected off of it. We did a slight deviation above, and then we had that, FOMC meeting on Wednesday. We dumped back below. I am a little surprised that we are actually moving up. And one thing is very interesting is, and I can't say that this isn't a little bullish, is you can see this level right here. What happened is we basically, what this would have been considered is a break of structure. And the reason why is we broke the structure of making higher highs and higher lows. We failed to make another higher high right here, made a higher low, and then that resulted in a lower high. Then this resulted in another lower low. But instead of us making another lower high, we are now breaking structure again and making a new high. If this thing can clear above this level, this will change my bias a little bit. One thing I'm worried about is us kind of drifting up here and then hard rejecting and then pushing back down. All right, guys? And if you look at this, and we've been talking about this thing being a possible bear flag scenario, regardless, guys, let me repeat this. This isn't to scare anybody. I still think, regardless if they do a spring or if they don't do a spring, we're still going to see significantly higher prices later in the year going towards Q4. We've been talking about these kind of scenarios for a while on this channel, that we could either have a breakout mid-April, which is what we're in right now, or we're in the beginning of May, but mid-April we started to see the breakout. We talked about this. You can guys go back months ago where we've talked about the time frames where we could potentially see a breakout. One going into April because of Kevin Warsh being, the new FOMC, Jerome Powell being replaced, and that being a bullish scenario that people start to price in. Then you have to also understand that we're in QE, and then you have to also understand that we still are in this war with Iran. But I believe that once we finally get some type of resolution, that thing is going to kind of be taken off the table. And honestly, guys, the war in Iran's effectiveness to kind of manipulate the market down has kind of lost some of its strength. Like we got some announcements the other day that there was something that happened with the Strait of Hormuz being blocked. The markets didn't dump as bad as they did before. Now, one thing we have to look at is oil. All right. So oil has started to make new highs. It started to break back above. I thought that for sure when it broke back below this 50-day, that would be the top of this thing would be kind of over. This thing has made another push back up. It is starting to reject again. And honestly, guys, this isn't looking like the most bullish chart. This thing looks like it wants to come dump back down. But again, this all depends upon what happens in Iran. If there's a continuation of aggression, if they continue to block the Strait of Hormuz, we're going to see oil go up. We know Trump doesn't want that because when oil goes up, inflation goes up. Trump is trying to get these rates lowered. He's got midterms coming up. So he needs to do whatever he can do to really turn the economy up. And he knows that the number one way to do that is get energy prices down. Because with gas going up, guys, and energy prices going up, everything else goes up. And that's just simple as that. With that being said, I want to take a look at a couple of other things. All right. One is USDT dominance, guys. We talked about this about last week. This thing has broken back below the 50. This is something that is pretty bullish looking, guys. We're continuously rejecting off of it. So we went from this massive uptrend where we were holding the 50 as support, and now we're rejecting off of it. And we've been doing it for a while now, guys. Like, this isn't just one or two rejections. We've broken back below it since really the beginning of April, and we've been below it. We want to see this thing stay below this. What we want to see is this thing to start trending down. And when we do get the breakout, guys, we'll see this thing come down pretty fast. And then what we'll have to be looking at that point is like every one of the other runs that we've had prior, which is to see when we start to break down. Once we start to get into some of these lower levels, the reaction's there. All right. And this can also be a place for you to start looking at maybe taking a little bit of money off the table when we do break down for USDT dominance and we start getting to some of those lower levels. That can be kind of a clue to say, hey, we're starting to get to a major area of support on USDT dominance. Let me start removing some of my positions off the board. Now, this isn't something that's going to play out in a week or 2 weeks. This is like a multi-month trade, you guys. You have to understand. We are in a bear market. You're preparing for the next bull run, all right? What you're not wanting to do is FOMO and just go all in. You want to DCA over a period of time because, again, even though we're trending up right now, guys, and things look really good, we still have to understand that at any time, especially with this war going on in Iran, especially with what just got announced with the Fed. Also, some of the data this week wasn't the best. Like GDP went down, inflation went up, core PCE went up. So like these different data points are very important, and it's showing that in the beginning of this year, GDP was like, I think it was like 4.4. It was like one of the highest rated GDPs ever. And that has completely, come down. Of course, understanding Q4 GDP, that first one that gets reported in the beginning of the year, tend to be the highest because during the holidays, people spend money. All right. So this makes, the economy start to buzz. You get a lot of people do higher earning reports. And that's another thing that's been concerning over the last couple of days that I've been watching is earnings reports. Most of the companies have not been hitting their earnings. There's been a couple that have done really, really good. I think Google knocked it out of the park, and their stock went I think it surged 5 or 10% that day. But most other stocks aren't. All right. We also have to look at the AI bubble that's going on as well. There's just a lot of uncertainty that's in the market, guys. And I'm telling everybody, don't rush. I think that there's still plenty of time. And I know what happens, guys, and I've said this too. When you start to see bullish market structure, it starts to make you want to FOMO because nobody wants to miss the boat, all right? Everybody realizes that last bear market, people were buying Bitcoin at 16,000 and they got to run that thing up to 126, and people don't want to miss out on it, and I understand that. But you also don't want to FOMO because a lot of times, guys, these markets can look really good one day and then next week everything gets reversed. And then you're sitting you're sitting there and you're wishing that you had waited. Patience is a virtue, guys. Just be patient. I think there's going to be plenty of times to enter the market. I think there's going to be some interesting opportunities. You have to understand, we're coming into the summer, guys. There's this saying that goes, sell in May and go away. All right. There's a lot of people that really live by that. And you're going to see, especially when we start getting into August and September, guys, these are the two historically worst performing months in the markets, period. So that would also be a time that we could even potentially have a semi run. Maybe this thing comes up, and then as soon as we start chopping sometime in August, September, then they do this spring before we actually get the next actual breakout. Not saying that's going to happen. I'm not saying that's a guarantee. Again, this is a set of probabilities, guys. All right. With that being said, guys, if this is the first time you've ever seen any of my content, my name's Coach JM. I've been a digital asset investor for over 5 years. I'm the founder of Alpha Syndicate, And I also host all the Crypto Talk workshops inside of Capital Club. And if you want to learn this stuff, guys, if you want to learn how we connect the macro, the fundamentals, technical analysis together, if you want a place where you can get coached and mentored by somebody like me, click the link below, guys. We'll see you inside.